You're listening to Big World Network.
Average. Season 1, Episode 5. Written by Jonathan Thompson, read by Heather Thompson. Hey Quinn? Sorry to interrupt you, but I think he means you, Tinacton helpfully informed me. Yeah, I said, standing and placing my pen down dramatically. I think you're right. I strolled outside, feeling like Clint Eastwood, which I understand is a dated reference for someone my age, but that's the sort of kid I was. I had no fear of whom or what awaited me in that hallway. I walked out calmly, with the eyes of the entire class following me. But let me clarify. My bravado had nothing to do with courage. It was all just a big misunderstanding. I firmly believed that I would enter the hall and see my father in some hastily thrown-together costume trying to scare the super out of me. Instead, I saw someone completely different. This man was shorter than my father, and much leaner. His entire body was covered in black, and what looked like a welding mask shielded his face. That was not my father. I had no idea who this person was. But I was already committed, already staring down this challenger in the battleground of high school. The halls were empty by this point, except for the two of us. Behind the mysterious figure, the entryway to the school looked like it had been bent outward from the middle. The glass was shattered and the metal frames were mangled. I know your secret, Quinn, he said in that same voice that pulled me from class. It was a terrible match for his body. But that strange voice had made a statement that superheroes and anyone associated with superheroes dreads. There was only one secret about me worth knowing, Ultrarian's secret identity. If this man knew who my father was, then he could use me as leverage to bring about the fall of Ultrarian. It wasn't a good situation for either of us. I had my phone in my pocket, and I could, if need be, send a 911 text to my father, but that would be counterproductive at best. It would only prove that I knew Ultrarian and raise more questions. Unless I could do it unnoticed, and he could pretend to have just stumbled upon us, but that would be a pretty tricky text to type out covertly. Plus, Dad would have to get out of work, which wasn't always easy for him. I told him over and over there was a reason the supers in comics picked office jobs for their alter egos. It's a lot easier to say, oh, I just have to run out for a minute when you work in a cubicle than it is to do the same thing when you're a plumber. I swallowed hard. I was on my own. Let's go outside, I answered as calmly as I could. I had no idea what I was doing. Good, the man answered before launching himself backwards through the hole he had made coming in. His flight left a symmetrical dent in the lockers that lined the halls. So, I thought, a magnokinetic. That was a strange power, controlling magnetic forces, but one of the few I had figured out, or at least I had a solid theory. Thanks to the internet, I'd learned that even though most people cart around about 5 grams of iron in their bodies, that iron is so thoroughly dissolved that it has nothing to do with the type of magnetism that would allow this guy to topple a bus. Which I saw as I walked into the parking lot he had apparently already done. The only reasonable explanation I could come up with is that magnokinetics had a genetic condition called hemochromatosis, which meant they had way too much iron in their bodies. Again, thank you, internet. If that was the case, he would still have to run a small electric charge through his body to create electromagnetism. Somewhere under his cheap ninja costume, this guy was hiding a series of switches. I did a quick inventory of my pockets for potential targets of magnetic manipulation. Shirt, pockets empty. Plastic buttons, clear. Body, no piercings or jewelry, clear. Pants, pockets empty, clear. Oh no, I realized. My fly! I was going to have to risk it. I figured that since this guy never actually touched any switches, there were probably levers in his gloves. Which would explain why he kept wiggling his fingers. Either that or he just had chronic jazz hands. I ran the facts through my head. This guy had a parking lot full of 2-ton projectiles at his disposal, but if I could get close enough, he wouldn't risk tossing a bus across his own nose. I hoped not, anyway. And then I could try to mess with his machinery. Maybe someone of authority in school would actually exercise their authority when they realized he was just a crazy person with a chronic disease rather than a terrifying supervillain. That would be nice. I wasn't sure how his targeting system worked, but I had to gamble that he wasn't precise enough to zone in on my zipper. So, armed with nothing except a hypothesis built on possibly incorrect information I gleaned from medical websites, and hoping he didn't blast magnetic pulses at my crotch, I ran at him like a lunatic.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
You're listening to Big World Network.